Um, yeah. So today I will continue on the book that I received from you and Imamin of Rabbi Yeshua Berman. There's a lot I can say here, but due to the time constraints, I will just show something that he is speaking a lot, quite a few pages on the biblical criticism, which actually try to prove that the whole story of Noach is a combination of two different stories or two different versions of the text that have been bind together by a third author. So there were three authors, two authors. That one is kind of Kohanim, which is called the Kohanim version, and the other one is a non-Kohanim version. And then those two sources have been joined together. That's why you find what they call inconsistencies, but also doubling. So they're very worried about the doubling and also the changes in names. For once it's Hashem, the other one it's Elohim. The Hashem and Elohim is very much interweaved and without no explanation. And so therefore there is a bit of inconsistency for their eyes. And therefore they believe that there used to be two versions, and that the version that we have in the Torah is the third version, which tries to take the psukim from the previous versions, but just put them one after the other. What he did find out, and he maybe uses it a little bit also as an argument against this biblical criticism, is that when you look at events that happened from Noach till from the beginning till the end of the story, that there is a very high symmetry. And the symmetry, and I will show you on the page here, is there is a symmetry which goes like that. And that's why it's good to look inside of the Chumash. There is one major posuk, it's in Bereshis Ches Aleph. Bereshis Ches Aleph. If you look at Bereshis Ches Aleph, you will see Bereshis Ches Aleph, Perek Ches posuk Aleph. ויזכר לסמידו, ויזכר אלוקים אסנוע, וכל החי וכל הבאים מהשית בטבע, ויעבר אלוקים רוח על אורז, וישוי כמוהם. So that seems to be the posuk, which should be in the middle of the whole story. So the Torah starts with, oh, it's bad, and there will go rain, you have to build the thing, and then it goes, and then there is everything goes worse and worse, and there is a table that floats, and then starts Vayizkor Elokim es Noach, then suddenly that's the beginning where things are going, where the Gon Shloilem remembers, and he's starting to reduce the Mabul. And so you have in Posuk Gimel, so how many days did it take for the water to retract? It's 150 days. Which is interesting is because in Posuk, the previous Perek, Posuk Chov Dalet, Vayikbru hamayim al oretz, how much? 50 u'ma'as yoim. Yeah? Vayikbru hamayim al oretz, 50 u'ma'as yoim, so 150. So it took 150 days for the waters to prevail, as we call it, and it took 150 days for the waters to go down, kind of. So it's a bit of there is a symmetry here. Then the Posuk 19, if you go back to Posuk 19 from the previous Perek, והמים גוברו מאוד מאוד, על אורז היחוסה כל ההורים הגבוהים אשר תחת כל השמיים, and then Erude והיחוסו ההורים, the next Posuk, that's the mountains were covered. If you look at Perek Ches, Dalet and Hey, התונח הטבע יום השיע על הורי הארורות, והמים עולו בחוץ על החוץ הסיר והסיר לחוץ שנראו ראש ההורים. So ויחסו ההורים, then the other posuk on the other is Niru Rosh Orim. So suddenly so it's the symmetry. Then the water increases in posuk Tezain Yudches, the previous Tezain Yudches, or Boim. There was a Yudzain, Yebo Yamabul Aboim Yom Leoz, Aybo Amayim, Vayisu Asatevo. And then in posuk Hey, it's Amayim Hoyu Holoch V'Choser, then it goes down, the water goes down. When it goes, Hashem closes the Tevo 7:16, Hashem closed the table. Vayizgor Hashem ba'adoi. And then what we have on the other side is that Noach vayiftach melech es chalo in hateva asher also. That's in Posuk Vov. Okay, and then it continues. There is the raven and the dove leave ark, and in the other Posuk it says that he brought down in Posuk 14. You tell it that also the oil, the chov oil limin kol tzipor kol konov he brought in. Then he starts with the rain on the earth in 7:12. And then he says in the 8 and 9, I think, the rain on the earth, and then he says water on the earth. So it says there is loy motzo ayoin u'moneach because kimayim apnei oretz. It was still watery. Then they took 7 days waiting for flood. This is in 7:10. And then in 8:10 it says how many days? So it's 7 days. Then the dove leaves the ark. That's 1 second. G. That's 8, 10, and 12. And birds enter the ark. This you already said. Yeah, there he uses again because there's a doubling. Yeah? Because in Zayin Ches there is again that he brought him already. There's a doubling here twice. It seems like he brought the animals inside the thing, and so everything that you see there is a symmetry. So everything that happened in building up towards that posuk, and then it goes back down, and that he discovered. Nobody else mentions it in the Meforshim. It is what he wants to use as also kind of a proof that it was all one author, that actually everything has a purpose on the reason why these psukim have been doubled in order to show the symmetry of when it goes up and then it goes back down. He has a whole chapter here, which I went through, and it's quite frightening, but I already mentioned many times in my, and it's only chapter 7 that I would like to speak today a little bit. And I will go quick so that we can finish. There is a Hagdome to the Rambam. The Rambam has, in Hagdome to Perek Chelek, the Rambam has Yud Gimel Ikrim. He has 13 Ikrim of Judaism. And the 8th Yesod is Heyois HaTorah min Hashomayim. So the Mishnah in Sanhedrin says, whoever says Torah love min Hashomayim, yeah, in Chelek, the very first Mishnah, I think, says that who doesn't have Olam Habo, whoever believes that the Torah is not min Hashomayim. That ve'ein Torah min Hashomayim. So these are the ones that are in Apikoros. They are the two that don't have a Chelek Olam Habo in this part of the Mishnah. So Heyo is Torah min Hashomayim, v'hu shenamin kichol haTorah azois amitzuye biyodenu ato. The whole Torah that we have today, hi anesun al de Moshe Rabbeinu olav hasholom, shehi chulu mepi agvuro. That these are all mepi agvuro, and that it's all for Moshe. So he adds something which is very interesting, where we don't know the source from where the Rambam adds this from. First of all, we already said a few shiurim, many shiurim previously, a few years even ago, that the Torah that we have today is clearly has differences of the Torah that existed many generations before. I've shown you there is a Rabbi Kiva that brings down a lot of different passages in the Gemara that uses a letter that the Gemara had and that we didn't have today. The Ramon says that we are not bekin the chaseros ve'yeseros, so then we don't know the vov if it's mole or chosa, the chaseros, and therefore if we find the mole and the chosa, theoretically it's okay, as long as Minchas Chinuch says as long as the meaning of the word did not change, it's okay. There is even a whole shaila if there is a mitzvah today of writing a Sefer Torah, since the Sefer Torah that we have today is not the original one. But that's very interesting that he does not speak about that Rabbi Yeshua Berman. But that's a part which can also be already criticized on the Rambam. Why did he write it like that? Knowingly that there are multiple versions of the Torah, even in his time, that did not match with the verses that the Gemara brings down. And so it's a bit of interesting wording that he uses. That the Torah hazois hametzuya biyodenu ato, and he adds a few times Torah hazois hametzuya biyodenu ato. The one that we have now is the same Torah that was given to Moshe, and that's a very interesting how he translated Torah min Hashomayim. And this can be criticized, the Rambam, for taking such a strong stand, knowingly that even not asking apikorsus, but simply historically, the Torah, with all those generations, hundreds of years, thousands of years, there is no other way, because we can only copy it, that there are some errors or changes that occurred during this passage. There is a Masechet Soifrim that says that they went into the Azora and they found 3 Sefer Torahs. It doesn't say in which period, but they find 3 Sefer Torahs. 2 had this word and another one had another word for that, and they chose the 2 according to Rov. There is so many examples that I can prove and I can bring that this passage of the Rambam is definitively problematic.
I mean, what I understood from the Rambam there, what you say, it doesn't say that the wording back here, maybe say the Torah is given back every generation. So the Torah we have today, it was from the beginning, Hashem knew from the beginning. So the Torah we have today for our generation, it should have been like this, and that's the Torah that was given by Moshe in our generation.
Yeah, okay, so that's the second one. Then I agree with you. This is you could say that it doesn't mean every letter, but it means at least.
It's even as you said in the past in Moshe, you even say that if Moshe Rabbeinu will come today with, maybe you didn't, maybe it wasn't, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
If Moshe Rabbeinu will come today with the Torah that he gave on the Sinai, someone we will say no, that's not kosher.
That's not kosher.
And this we will be right.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yes, because we're going according to the Rov.
I wasn't sure, so that's why I said
Ouais, le consensus. Ouais. 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 Ouais, c'est ça. Ouais. Ouais. Ouais.
Si le Rambam passe, il fait que c'est pas.
Ouais. Il fait que.
Si le Rambam dit pas ça, il fait avec ses paroles, c'est pas.
Ouais. S'il ne l'aurait pas dit. Ouais. En le disant, c'est qu'il l'a rendu divin. Il l'a rendu divin. En fait, ouais. Donc, everything that Nimnu v'Kiblu, that where Klal Yisrael is Mekabel, it's also Mekubel in heavens. That's what the idea is. So the heavens have no words to tell us. Hashomayim, we paskin. This is a Sefer Torah. This becomes a Sefer Torah, and you are Mekayim mitzvahs. I say if you write a Sefer Torah today, because this is the Sefer Torah, and if Moshe Rabbeinu would say no, he says sorry, Moshe Rabbeinu, no, sorry. On this world now, this is how we're going to paskin, and this becomes the real Sefer Torah that we need to line from, and that you Mekayim mitzvah. But in any case, where he wants to go further is, and I will keep it short, and maybe next week I have a lot of this. So I brought my laptop because my printer doesn't work, but I will print out. There is quite a dangerous viewpoint that if I would tell you that some people have later changed some words in the Torah, how would you regard that saying? If I would tell you the Torah, but these words are not from Moshe Rabbeinu, these are from much later, from Anshe Knesset Agdoilo, or from somebody, the redactor has changed these words. Okay, so it's clear that according to Moshe Feinstein, the person who says that is an apikoros, and is Ein Lo Chelik Mabo, and this is exactly what the Rambam says here, that everything you have to believe comes from Moshe Rabbeinu and was never redacted in a late stage. And however, and maybe I will not bring any more so in order to finish quickly, however, there were a lot of Rishonim, and even a Medrash Tanchume, which is modern Rishon, in Parshas Beshalach, It brings down the case that Avram went from the HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to Avram, and then Avram spoke with somebody, and etc. And then he says that that Avram was still standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avram odenu oimid lifnei Hashem, ele shekinohu akosu. So it says that we should have said Hashem is still standing in front of Avram, but it's not nice to say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was waiting there. Okay, in the middle of discussion, then he has a discussion, and then he comes back and HaKadosh Baruch Hu was waiting. It's not nice. So they said the Pasuk changed it. Avram odenu oimid lifnei Hashem, shekinohu akosu, and who says kloima that shehu v'kinohu akosu shehu tikun soifrim anshe knesses agdoilo. So the anshe knesses agdoilo changed, and he brings on a few cases like that where in the Torah is only one case, but otherwise it's in Zecharia, in Shmuel, in Iyov, in Habakkuk. There is many places where the anshe knesses agdoilo changed in order to the Medrash Tanchuma.
Because according to the Rambam, definition of the Nevuah, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because it's anyway, it's not Hashem. It's maximum a malach, even less. Because Hashem never speaks to Abraham.
So, okay, yeah, but that's something else. Okay, but that's
surprising.
Yeah, but that's you asking on the story itself, the problem of the story. Why did they have to change?
No, you said because you're saying that Hashem is waiting, but
but
according to the Rambam, Hashem is never waiting, as the Torah never says that Hashem was speaking to Abraham.
No,
but it was a matter, so it never.
So it could have been.
Anyway, it was a dream only. It was never in a life.
So, are you asking that the problem they did not have to change it because it didn't make sense? It's not Hashem himself; it's a malach. So it.
Unless you have a question on
but
the
in any case, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking that's a separate question. But it's just a tikkun soif from anshek nesses agdoilo. So here it brings down the Eitzos that there must be a mistake. It can't be because the Rambam says everybody that it's not that the word anshek nesses agdoilo cannot be true. But it's also in my Rashi. In my Rashi, I already told you. In my Rashi, somehow they added it, or I don't know. In my Rashi, it also says that Zechoinu Livrocha changes. Zechoinu Livrocha means human being. That Lichtov came, which is so my Rashi it is printed, but in most Rashis I don't. So there is that, and then there is a lot of there is a famous Ibn Ezra. In the beginning of Dvorim, it says, Eila Dvorim, Asher Diber Moshe, Kol Yisrael be'ever HaYarden, Ba'midbar Ba'rover. What does it mean be'ever HaYarden? On the other side of the Yarden. Where were they? They were apparently on the other side, be'ever HaYarden. Now, but when you are on that side of the Yarden, you don't say be'ever HaYarden, right? So who says be'ever HaYarden? Who says on the other side of the Yarden? Only people that are already crossed the Yarden. But Klal Yisrael did not cross the Yarden yet when this was written. Klal Yisrael did not cross the Yarden yet. So what does he say? Be'ever HaYarden. And so the Ibn Ezra, they don't think that Ibn Ezra, sorry. It's I thought the Mikros Gedolos. Ibn Ezra says there is a big, there is a sod, a secret, that if you want to know, there is a secret, and that those like the 12 psukim, like the secret of the 12. And the secret of the 12 goes about the last 12 psukim that describes that Moshe Rabbeinu died. And there is a machlokes tanoim if Moshe Rabbeinu wrote this with tears or it was written by Yeshua. And so the Rambam himself, that the whole Torah was given, is only a machlokes tanoim because the last 12 psukim anyway, some tanoim held that was written by Yeshua, and that apparently there is, and he brings down, which I will not do today, but I checked it because a few things were so shocking for me even that I had to find it before I could, and I found it. Baruch Hashem, I found the prints of these Sforim. Some are still in manuscript, so that's for me not valid because I need to see it inside. But a lot of them I found in either Hebrew books and other sources. But he says clearly that a lot of the Rishonim agreed that there were Soifrim that afterwards added on elements, changed a little bit the things in order to make it more clear. There's Rabbi Yehuda Chosid, which Moshe Feinstein tried to stop from being printed, which also brings down that some parts of the Torah were added on by the Anshe Knesset Agdoyle or Yehoshua. This is something which Moshe Feinstein found to be unacceptable and should not be printed. And anyway, he printed it anyway. It was a whole story. And but today we find a lot more. We have found so many more sources that confirms this Rabbi Yehuda Chosid. There is a Medrash Seichel Tov, which is very shocking, and I will not bring you to you now, but maybe next week I will print it out, and so that you can read it yourself. Which clearly says that there were people that had to change certain text, edit certain text. We'll see next week's parsha as well, some claim it is only if Nevi'im do it, then they're allowed to. Others don't mention the condition. There's a whole sefer, Sof Paneach, which is somebody who wrote a pirush kind of on the Ibn Ezra. So he's one of the early Rishonim who wrote a pirush on the Ibn Ezra, and he says very clearly, openly, he says that the Ibn Ezra means here that somebody else wrote it, and but it was Apil Nevuah. So, and he says, what's the difference if Moshe wrote it or a Novi wrote it? It's all divine. It all comes from Torah min Hashomayim.
No, you cannot say that. I will bring back again the Rambam.
Yeah, but the Rambam disagrees with that. The Rambam clearly disagrees with that.
No, I will not even go to this. I'm not discussing on that part. But he's saying in terms of Nevuah, you have, I don't know the word, or you say it in English, but Nevuah, there is two significant. You have the Nevuah of the game and the Nevuah of Rabbeinu, which is not related. Yeah. There is nothing to compare.
Yeah.
So saying another one with Nevuah can change, it means you will change on something that's not comparable with the Nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu.
Yeah.
You can change if you're the same level, but not, you don't know.
No, but there they only can add a few words. Aknani, Oz, Bo'orez, the Oz is
then the Kedusha goes down. Or it's modification to something that was how much.
Yeah.
I'm not even discussing if you can do it, but I mean.
Yeah, it's a difficult, very difficult, but it's clearly, and I will bring you the text, I will print it out, and I will bring you the text, and we'll discuss that. But just a point to make is that where he goes, and I think he's got a point, is that the Rambam lived in a time when he lived in the Islamic world, and all the Rishonim that brings down that somebody else changed who lived in Europe were Ashkenazim, all the Toises, Bala Toises they were. And he says that Bala Toises had no problem because anyway there was no religious counterpart because the Christians believed in every single letter that we have in the Chumash also like them. So we can say somebody added. But in the Islam there is a big scholar which is called Ibn Hazm, that actually claims that, and he brings proofs that we fake the Torah, and therefore he used that a lot to argue against Judaism. And so the Rambam, in order to save, it's in the counterpart, used very strong expression that the Torah Zois, this is the one that we got from Moshe, and that nobody changed it and falsified it in order to remove any reference to Muhammad. So they claim that the Torah, original Torah, had a reference to the prophet that will come from, I don't know, from Yishmael, and it will be, and that we have omitted it. We have, and they bring proof from inconsistency. And so therefore the Rambam says that it's not. Basically what I want to say is that there is, when you look in the Mishnah, you cannot bring a proof, even from the Gemara, you cannot bring a proof to the Rambam's point of view, which takes an extreme point of view. Is an apikoros. This view is really a very strong words which you cannot bring from the Gemara. And also, like I said, a lot of Rishonim of his time disagreed with him. And so even Reb Sadi going, this I will for next week. But I just wanted to say that I believe, and I think he's right, and I want to add that when there is a counterpart, when there is a other religion or a kind of a people that goes away from Judaism and claims something, then if somebody believes, if I would say Moshe Rabbeinu's name was really Andre,
Moshe Rabbeinu is
I'm going to say Moshe Rabbeinu's name was Andre.
Moshe Rabbeinu is a Goyish name.
I know. They must have had a Jewish name. I agree.
It was
yeah. So, but let's say I don't know what, something crazy. I believe Moshe Rabbeinu was a female, was a woman. realized she was a woman. I don't know, I'm going something crazy.
Very
So what would you
successful.
tell me?
Very successful today. in this
But
stage.
you would tell me, go, did you take your medication this morning or not? You would think this person has to take medication, has to go for treatment. You would laugh, you would still accept him, there's no problem at all. The only thing is that if there would have been a group of people that had a religion which believed that Moshe Rabbeinu was a woman, then from that moment I say Moshe Rabbeinu was a woman, that becomes an apikos. Nobody would say that I'm crazy, but I would become an apikos. So it's always relative to if there is other meanings. And that's very interesting. You have to think about, I'm the same person. The same reason I'm saying Moshe Rabbeinu was a woman, then in one case, you are Michigan and go and, take your medication and, have a plate of cholent and calm down. But on the other hand, if there would be a group of people like that, then I would become an apikoros. Because that's the whole idea, that you have removed yourself from the traditional thing. And that is what, in the time of the Rambam, there were Arabs that believed that we changed the thing, and a lot of Jews probably. And so therefore, that becomes an apikoros. But if somebody in Europe would say that we change a little bit, then because nobody would make an issue, there was no competition, there was no kind of issue with that, and therefore it's not a problem to say it. So our Ashkenazi Tosfos and Rishonim could say that somebody changed in the course of time, but the Rambam could not, because otherwise you would be considered. So that's a little bit my chiddush I would like to bring today, which he doesn't really say it in that way, but of course he brings down the fact that we are in the Islam countries where the Rambam lived, and that's why the Rambam was like that, and the Ashkenazim was not like that. So, and next week, Mitzvah Hashem, if you're okay, should I continue that subject and bring you, and I will print out so that we can see it inside. It's quite frightening and shocking, but I think it's part of the Torah, and maybe I will discuss that as well. Why do we need to know that? I mean, maybe just be quiet. We should only see each other on Simchas. Thank you. Should be Zoicha. Are there any questions or points? So. Ouais, je vais mettre stop le recording.
La partie où on enregistrait Africa.